welcome to my garden. Today I am going to harvest some thyme to dry. Now I'm going to tell you a little bit about thyme before I get started here. Thyme, as you may know or may not know, is a perennial. The thyme I'm going to harvest here is 3 years old, and so it's very nice and healthy now. You may find that when you first plant your thyme that it's not going to get very mature the first year. And so you may not have to dry it for a few years, but you can certainly go ahead and start clipping it for cooking. And it's a wonderful herb to cook with. I will include a few links at the end of this video to give you some ideas of how you can use your thyme too. This particular thyme is silver thyme. Thyme comes in a lot of different flavors, and I call them flavors because that's pretty much what they are. Now there's lemon thyme, there's lime thyme. This one is the silver thyme. I'm growing 4 different kinds right now, but this is my oldest plant, and I'm just thrilled that I'm going to get to harvest it for drying today. You may wonder, how do you know when it's time to harvest your thyme? Well, just like most herbs, you want to harvest it before it starts to bloom, or right when you start to see flowers. That's when you need to harvest it. I started to see flowers on my thyme about 3 days ago, and I've been meaning to get down here to harvest it, but I wanted to also share it with you when I did. So I had to wait on the right timing, and today it is around 11 o'clock in the morning. It's about 65 degrees today, so it's not real hot, and it's the perfect I think temperature and time of the day to harvest the thyme. We're going to go ahead and get started here. Now you may notice on silver thyme you'll start to get little tiny blooms, little purple blooms, and so that's what I started to notice on here. Now you don't always have to grow your thyme just for cooking. You can grow it if you have bees. Thyme honey is wonderful. In Greece, that's what you will find in Greece, is thyme honey. And I'm not exactly sure. I'll have to look up to find out exactly which variety of thyme it is they grow for the honey. But it's wonderful honey. So I recommend that if you wanted to just grow a big field of thyme. If you have bees, that might be something that you would like to consider. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this, and then we're going to take it inside, and I will show you how we're going to dry it. Whenever you're harvesting your herbs for drying, whatever it is, you want to make sure that you either wash your hands very good with a pretty good detergent to make sure you get all the oils off, or I'm just going to wear gloves. But it's a very good idea to make sure that you don't get any kind of oils or anything on the herbs that you're going to dry. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and cut this back down at the base. Pretty low. Okay. Thyme is kind of like a ground cover. It won't get real tall, and it grows along the ground and kind of spreads like that. I'm trying not to cut it too low because I don't want to get any of the woody stems in there. Here's the thyme. Here's what I ended up with. It's a nice, beautiful harvest of thyme, and it just smells wonderful. So I'm going to wash it in a salad spinner. Now I know some people probably don't wash their herbs before they dry them. I'm just like that. I like to wash everything. So I am going to wash my herbs, and you know your garden. You know if something that you want to do or not. So I'm going to wash mine. I have a duck pond that's close to my garden, and so I just like to always make sure I wash everything that comes out of my garden. Even though I don't spray pesticides or anything like that, I just do like to take that extra step. So I'm going to go ahead and give these a quick wash, and then we're going to pop them in the dehydrator. I gave it a quick rinse. I washed it a couple of times. I'm going to go ahead and add the thyme here. Didn't expect for it to be so dirty, but it had a little bit of dirt down there in the bottom. So go ahead and dry this. Okay, this is the Excalibur Dehydrator. I bought this a few years ago, and it was a decision I had to really think about because it wasn't, you know, an everyday purchase. And I did decide to go with a 9 tray versus a 5 tray, just because if I was going to dehydrate something, I wanted to go ahead and get a lot done at one time. So you do not have to have a dehydrator to dry your herbs. I will show you how you can do that here in just a minute if you don't have a dehydrator. I have enjoyed using this for the times that I've needed to, but it's not something I use every day. But if you have a garden, once you start growing things, it might be something that you'll want to consider purchasing. Okay, so let's go ahead and I'll show you the tray right here. And it has this right here, and this right here keeps the herbs or whatever you're drying from falling through. And you can wash those, hand wash them in your sink. So let me go ahead and spread some thyme out on here. We're just going to spread this out kind of in a single layer if you can. This is probably the most tedious part of dehydrating something is you have to kind of, you know, take your time and try to space it out right on the trays. That's one tray. Okay, now the next tray. I have filled up all of my trays except for one, and which is great. I didn't have enough time to fill up my whole entire dehydrator. So that's exactly why I bought the 9 tray. I didn't want to have to do this twice. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and stick this in here. And we're going to turn it on, and I'll show you the controls here in just a minute. These are the controls at the back of the dehydrator, and right here it has a nice little guide to help you along. Herbs, you need to dry those at 95 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, so mine is at the lowest setting here on the dial. I make sure this is set at 95 degrees. And then over here, we're going to go ahead. I'm going to set this on about 6 hours, and I'm going to check on it. Now, I'll tell you a story real quick. The first time I dried a big harvest of herbs, it was Greek oregano. I remember it to this day. I had a beautiful harvest. And I stuck it in the dehydrator, and I just turned it on, and just because I always dry things at 95 degrees. Well, I had forgotten that I had also made beef jerky a few days earlier, and the temperature was set up at the highest setting, and I ruined all of my herbs. So make sure, now I always double check my temperature. Don't make the same mistake I did. Learn from my mistakes and always double check. Make sure that your temperature is set correctly. Alright, so let's go ahead and get this set over here. About 6 hours. I'll come back and check on it. Now, if you do not have a dehydrator, just take little bunches of your thyme, and you're going to tie it up in like some jute string. Okay, like this kind right here. And we're going to take off a pretty long piece. I guess my piece here, I know you can't see it, it's about 18 inches or more, maybe about 2 feet long. And we're just going to tie it at the bottom. Okay, and you can double knot it if you want to. You need to make sure it's pretty tight, because once it starts to lose its water, it could start to slip through your little string there. And then we're just going to hang it up. Normally I dry my herbs from a hook that's in my pantry upstairs in my kitchen. But since I'm down here in the garage, I'm going to go ahead and just hang it down here. This is a fine place too. What you want is somewhere that's dark and cool and does not get a lot of sunlight. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and hang it right there on that little nail. Okay, you want to make sure that it gets some air circulating around it. I don't want to have it hanging up against the wall or anything. So it's hanging out from the little beam there, and we'll check on that again here soon. I would like for this to be a little bit darker down here, but I think this will be just fine. Okay, the thyme is finished. I let it dry for about 15 hours. I started it around, I think I let it go for about 6 hours, and I checked on it, then I set it a little longer. I just kept adding a few more hours here and there till it was completely dry. So right here I have some parchment paper. All I'm going to do now is just kind of crumble it up until the leaves fall off. And then I'm going to pull the stems out because I don't want the stems. You can leave the stems in here. As a matter of fact, you could just take all of this, put it on a cutting board, and chop it down and put it up like that. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of take it and rough it up a little bit till the leaves fall off. or if they aren't coming off easily, I'm just going to come back on it like this. And I'm going to get some of the stems in here, but that's okay, not a big deal. I just do not want something tough in there. Okay, so I'm going to discard this piece here. And I'll just go down and do it all like this. I have a lot to do. So I'm going to go ahead and finish all this up, and I'll be back with you in just a minute. Okay, here's what I ended up with. This is one tray, so I have a lot of thyme, as you can see here. So I'm going to go ahead and put the stems in the composter. Now my silver thyme bottle is empty. I used the last bit of this last week, so this is great timing. Okay, this is all I'm going to need for now. And then I'll show you what we're going to do with the rest of the trays. Okay, so here's my next tray. All I'm going to do is put these in some wide mouth canning jars. Now, if you don't have canning jars, you can just use Ziploc bags. And I am going to remove the air and the oxygen out of the jar. You can also seal that up in just a bag. You don't have to use a jar. I'm just using a jar because this is what I have. And if you are using a Ziploc bag, you can just stick a straw down in the side of the Ziploc bag and then just suck the oxygen out that way. Okay, so I'm going to continue filling this up, and I'll show you how we're going to remove the air. So now I'm just going to remove the oxygen from the jars. I have a lid, and I'm going to use this little attachment here. This is an attachment specifically made for the food saver, which is right here behind here. This food saver has what's called a hose attachment on it. So the hose fits into the little hole here at the top. So let me just show you how I do this. And just pop that on there. And then the hose from the food saver goes right in there. And press accessory. And it's removing the oxygen from the jar. Now the lid is on there very secure. I don't even have to put a band on it. Okay, see, that's not coming off. No matter what I do, I can use something to loosen that seal, like a can opener or something, but otherwise that's good to go into storage. Okay, my project is done. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you found it helpful. Please let me know if you have any questions. Leave them in the comment section. Other viewers may have the same question. Thanks so much for watching, and have a beautiful day.